is Connor Williams, and I am a high-ticket sales trainer and business mentor. My background is, like most people, it's long, it's arduous. Been in entrepreneurship for probably about 8 years. So like most people, looking for a way out of the job, a bit more freedom, control. And then it was like everyone, when you start out, you feel like you need an idea. You feel like you need an invention, something that no one else has done before. So I started a clothing company that done custom clothing because I'm an upside down triangle. So it's like impossible for me to find clothes. So 2 years, 20 grand down, finally got it launched. And I was like, right, where is everyone? Why am I not a millionaire? And then I realized that there's this thing called marketing that I didn't quite understand. So that business did not work. And then it was, tried trading, thought like, I see everyone doing well at that. I'll try that out. But again, same story, but mainly I wasn't really putting in what I needed to. Then had a good 18 months off of, right, I need to sort my shit out. I need to stop going out every single weekend, using my resources, my time, my energy, and then try and find what I like to do. And then actually got a job in marketing, selling marketing campaigns because I wanted to learn for my clothing company. And then when COVID happened, lost job like most people, started an agency. Like I found a program to kind of help me out, kind of structure wise. First client, 18 grand to build them a website when most people struggle to sell one for $1,000. Then, 2 grand odds, run their ads a month. And that was nearly what I was getting paid in my day job, like on the recurring, let alone like the 18 grand up front. And then, I kind of realized how difficult running an agency is.
Yeah, it's a minefield.
But it's running a business. I think that people struggle to run a business when they start out because they underestimate how many things they have to do. There are so many things you have to do as a business owner. There's so many hats you have to wear. And if you're going to grow a business, you need to wear all them hats and go through that process. A lot of people want to shortcut it. It's like, oh, just get this guy. Like I used to then start to close for the program that helped me to launch my agency to kind of balance out my finances, get a bit more consistency. And then because I did so well at the sales, I started to coach people in there as well, help them set up and sign their first client. And, I was doing kind of all three. And the good thing is when I was closing, before high ticket closing was a thing, it gave me freedom. It was something that was flexible, something that gave me good money, something I enjoyed. And the coaching on top of that, again, I really enjoyed these things. And then I started to realize that I don't really like marketing. Like everyone, I think for most people, not everyone, but the first thing that you do, first thing you succeed in is often something that you don't really enjoy. You just do it because you want the result. And I think that's why most people fail. That's what I did with a clothing company. I don't want to launch a fucking e-com store. I hated running a clothing company. Like, I'm not a designer. Like, I don't really know what I'm doing. Same with the trading. It was horrible. It's just because you want the result of something. And then the only reason the agency worked for me was because it was something I was very good at, sales. And the reason that it didn't work for me was because it was also something I was bad at, which was marketing, because I didn't have the passion for it. I'd done it to the bare minimum standard. I got my clients like average results, but you can't do average in entrepreneurship. You have to do exceptional. You can't grow a business off the mundane because there's 20 other fuckers out there who will be willing to put the work in, who do love the thing itself, who will always do better than you. And that's why you'll always get left behind. So the agency worked and it didn't work, but it got me out. I think that's the most important thing. Like getting over the hurdle as an entrepreneur is the hardest thing to do. That's the first hurdle. A lot of people see, that 10K a month mark. I say the first hurdle is supporting yourself and not having a day job, because a day job will suck everything out of you. Energy, motivation, finances, time, it will suck everything out of you. So if you can get past that point, then you are already probably the most successful point you'll get to, because everything past that point will be a chase.
Yeah, agreed.
There's so many similarities with gym, with health, with relationships. Whenever I talk about stuff, I always say health, wealth, relationships. The industries that you close for, health, wealth, relationships, like personal development, progression is always in those three things, because those are the key to a happy life, which is why they have so many similarities. But the gym is no different. It's like that. You have to get over that hurdle of getting used to working out, and then you reach this point. You a couple months in, you start to see a bit of fat coming out, and that's the happiest you will ever get. It's like when you leave your job And when you like look in the mirror for the first time and you're like, so that's the happiest you'll be. Every point past that, you'll always be chasing better, which is not necessarily a bad thing at all. But it's just right now you're in the game properly. And the game is that constant progression. And if you don't realize that the purpose is the pursuit, not the end, then that's when people burn out. That's when people give up. That's when people end up falling off. And it's the same thing for everything. It's like if you think, if you're already in a position that you thought a past self said you'd be happy in, and you're not happy. So what makes you think the next position you're going to be happy, or the one after that, or the one after that? And like I have to take stops and reflect on points that I remember clearly the want of getting to a point and the impossible dream of getting to a point. And I remember getting past it and not even batting an eyelid and thinking, fuck, why am I not there?
You set more goals.
Yeah,
That's the problem. It's people chase perfection rather than anything else. And I'm guilty of it. Everyone is so guilty of it. So
yeah.
I know a lot of people who watch this, especially over on TikTok, they're a lot younger, but they want to grow a business.
Yeah.
What advice would you give them?
I think that, like I said, you're going to fail a lot. Be aware of that and don't shy from it more than anything. I think probably that's if you want to cascade my pieces of advice, like in most important and priority, I think I always say like you need to reframe the way you see failure as probably the most important, because that's the most common thing to knock people off or stop them from starting because of the fear of it. It's like failing only really happens if you either quit or you don't start. Making a mistake, even if it knocks you back, is the only way you get up anyway, because no growth is linear. And that's the mistake I made, like in every single business that I've grown. Like I make the same mistake 5 times before I learn sometimes, but it's mistaking that, right, I'm at 10K this month. Awesome. Right, next I'm at 20K. That means I'm going to be at 30K. Okay, right, I've made it 30K. Right, I'm going to be 50K next month. Well, what happened? 4K. Fuck. And then you plan based on a 50K and you're like, and if you can't handle that, you can't adapt to that and get past it, that will knock you off forever. But getting down to 4K, learning from the mistakes that got me there was the thing that hindered me to get up to the 50K. So if I wouldn't have got down, I wouldn't have been able to get up. So if you expand your time horizon, if you track your progress, growth is always like this. Like you come up and then you go down, but you never go as far down as you were before. And then you go up, and then you get higher than you were before, but then you go down again. But then again, you don't go down as low as you were before, and then you go up. So going down, failing, like hitting these walls is a necessary part of the process. Like you cannot go past the point which you want to go past without the failing. And that's because you don't learn anything when you win stuff. All that happens when you're winning and things are going well is it's the manifestation of your current level. And don't get me wrong, for some people, that will last a long time. What I know will last me for a long time and I'll keep winning. But there's a limit on what you know. And you only learn something new when you do something wrong. Because if your wins are just unfolding, what are you learning? Well, how are you growing? You're not. It's just the level you are is unfolding in front of you. And don't get me wrong, like some people can ride that wave for a long, long time, but there will always be a wall. And it's only when you fail, and it's only when something goes wrong, are you forced to learn something new to get past it. So when you invite these fucking failings and these wall hittings and you see them differently, like, oh, okay, like this is my chance to improve and learn something new and get to that next level. Like then it turns into excitement. And the thing that used to throw you off becomes a thing that motivates you. So every time we've hit this wall and I have to deal with my team, we've got a team of 6 and everyone's like, oh shit. I was like, right, relax. Like I told you, like we don't run the business like this. We run the business on solutions. So what is the solution here? Like there's no such thing as blame. There's only solutions and there's only learning. There's only looking at this from a positive aspect, because this is what's going to throw us off if we don't adapt to this. I said this morning, like an account ban, like where 80% of our revenue comes down, right? It's like not panic, right? What's the solution here? How can we deal with it? What do we learn from this? Okay, well, we learn if this goes down, we lose 80% of our revenue. What are we going to do from this? Right? We're going to have to diversify. But if that account ban didn't happen, I wouldn't have put things in place to get those things built quicker.
Very good.
So we would be in a negative place if compared to if it didn't happen.
Because it might have actually permanently got
Because the
banned,
next time it happens,
given a chance to learn there.
the next time it happened, it could have been permanent and knocked off completely.
Yeah.
And then what would you do? You would be absolutely screwed.
Yeah. Makes complete sense. I always think of business as education. Constant education,
Yeah.
constant learning. And I always ask this to everybody who comes on. How did you do back at school?
Shit.
But also alongside that, do you think it's important now? People have such different views. Numerous guests have said completely different things.
Yeah.
Do you think the education system is still important? Is it valuable? And can it be used in real life?
My view on the education system is there to grow nice, complacent, compliant worker bees. And if that's not you, you will be punished for it. There's a spectrum of ways to learn and ways to handle people and paths in life, and school is developed for one, and that's it. Come in, do as you're told, sit down, shut up, do something to the detriment of your own future, of individuality, because it benefits the system. And if you do that, you'll be somewhat rewarded with heavier taxes, more responsibility, all this stuff. And then what do you get at the end of it? You get to work for most of your life, to retire at maybe probably 75 by the time it rolls around, to be in such poor health and mindset by the time you reach that you don't enjoy it. Like there's just so, like the only advocate I have for like a traditional education is if you want to be an engineer, if you want to be a doctor, if you want to be a scientist, if you want a specific thing. But then on the other side to that, it's how the fuck do we trust teenagers to decide what they want to do with the rest of their lives and sacrifice so many important developmental years in the pursuit of the wrong choice? Because most of the time, and most people, it isn't their fucking choice. It's the parents' choice, or this person's choice, or that. It's like, oh, I'm just doing it to keep them happy. I'm just doing it to keep them happy.
I think that also comes down to mindset, really.
Yeah.
More or less, whether you want to abide to the system or if you want to go outside of the box. That's the main thing with it all. Whether you want to play along with the game or you don't want to play that game anymore.
Yeah.
You're fed up with playing that game. You want to break the curse. You want to get out of it. So with your line of work, what would you say is key to the mindset of you and somebody in your role?
Yeah, I mean, it depends what you define the role as. If it was more like the earlier stages of like being a closer, I think that you need to have that's something inside you that pushes you beyond reasonable force to do something in the pursuit of freedom, like not having to put a holiday form request in and like having maybe one holiday off a year and like 4 weeks off, and it's that you have a scale of freedom and security, and it's like where you sit on that scale is how you will live your life, and understand like everything comes with sacrifice. Like you sacrifice the freedom for the security and vice versa. So if you want to like have the mindset of that, you need to have that fire inside. You need to have that something, that little voice that's pushing you to do, like to look into these things. And I think that comes from when you start to feel very lonely in a group of people that you've known for a long time, and you start to think that something in right here, that won't go. Like if you feel that in any circumstance, that will not go, that will only grow. So it's that having that like mindset that I think is very hard to learn. I think that it's very difficult to learn that. It's something that's either in you or it's not. But saying that, for the longest time, I never dreamed of being in a position like this. I remember being in a position of dreaming that if I worked very, very hard, I might have a manager's job in 3 years and I could drive a BMW on a company car. I'm like, oh my God, imagine if I was driving a BMW, 3-year-old BMW. Oh my fucking God. And I remember getting a car allowance and then looking at a 12 grand Golf GTE thinking, oh my God, I could be driving that. Like, I don't know, obviously car's not the ultimate measure, but like it's a very good analogy for the type of mindset I used to have and what I thought was possible. So it's not that I've always like felt that I was going to be this, you know, big, bear in mind, I do not consider myself successful at all. But, you know, scaling a business past like 50K to most people would probably be successful. You know, most people don't earn 50K in a year, let alone, you know, a month. So I kind of get that, but it's that internal, I know I'm capable. I know that there's more. And what happens when you have that is that you pursue the more, you achieve the more, but then that cycles.
There's more.
So then your more becomes even more. And for me, like 10 grand a month was an impossible dream. Like 5 grand a month was. It was like, imagine if I could earn 5K and not have to work for someone. Like that felt like a realistic thing that I could work towards. So I fucking worked towards it and I got it. And I was like, well, I'm not obviously going to stay here for the rest of my life because that itch doesn't go. So like I said, that's the thing. That's the mindset. That's the indescribable feature of most people I know have this. And it's, you achieve that realistic goal and then you just set your sights on the next goal. Like we were saying earlier about like how if you're not happy now, you're probably not going to be happy then. So that's the blessing and the curse of that mindset, is that if that mindset doesn't cause you sufficient pain, you don't do anything about it. So you've got to learn the balance. Like sometimes it's not about being happy. Like in the pursuit of greatness, you have to forgo happiness. Like you have to invite pain. Like it's a fucking painful process. And the higher up you climb, the more pain you have. Like, fuck me, I wish I was a closer again. Like, or I was just taking sales calls. I have control of my diary. I could close and that was it. You know, nothing else. Running a business is like another story. Having staff is another story. Like having the responsibility of other people's livelihood, having things change and like, you know, things drop off and you've just got to have this unrealistic faith that it will, you know, that you can figure it out, you can work through it. And like I said, I've had peaks and then like things come crashing down so many times that I'm kind of resistant to it because I know that worst case scenario, I need to I'll lock myself away and I will just work until it's fixed, which is what I did. I went from traveling the world, like living in Bali, Canada, Australia, Spain, like for months at a time, like living this dream, to then everything going to shit and having to live in a shed in the middle of nowhere for 5 months, working 7-day weeks, 16-hour days, and having a pot of money of 20 grand that was my corporate tax bill and having to spend every single penny of it in making it work.
Wow. It's a gamble.
It fucking is.
It's always a gamble. I think anything worth having it's a risk at the end of the day. You've got to risk it to get the reward at the end of it.
100%.
In terms of high ticket sales, is there a key skill that you would encourage somebody to learn? Is there anything in particular you think so important that's a non-negotiable?
Yeah, I think that being present is probably one of the most important things you can have as a successful closer. Because so many people, I always say that there's a progression of your success and your performance, and it's the what, the how, and the why. So most people get into sales and they're in the what. Like their brain is so solely occupied on what they are saying, what's on the script, what's the next stage of the framework, what question do I ask next? They're not present in a conversation. And you can tell that a mile away. And it's a very awkward place to be as a prospect when you're on a sales call with a closer or a salesperson who's reading off a script and you're so aware of it. Like you disassociate so much that obviously nowadays sales is very, very different. You know, it's digging into pain, all these things, but you won't get that pain out of someone. Like you will not get that pain out of someone. So like the script that you have is fucking useless. So you need to do the what so many times it becomes muscle memory that your conscious mind doesn't think about it. Like driving. How many times do you think about changing gear or like doing that?
I do.
You don't. Like how many times you go to someone like, how the fuck do I get here? Like, you know
Too many.
Exactly, because it's muscle memory. You've done it so much. That's what you need to do. You need to go through it, which is something you can't shortcut. which is something you can't get until you're present in a conversation and it becomes a conversation. So that was probably one of the most important. I mean, there's so many different things, but I would say that's one of the most important, especially for new people, like to learn to be present in a conversation. I say to people all the time, I would rather you fuck your framework up, you forget questions, but I feel like you're a person.
Yeah.
Like I feel like, and I've fucked frameworks up, and like when I'm trying things new, and I was like, oh mate, sorry to ask you that question. I was like, oh, sorry about that. You know, I'll make a joke of it. I'll act like an actual human being. The minute you act like a salesperson, you attract like a salesperson. Like the minute it happens. And like one of the hardest things I'm finding at the minute is that we are placing a lot of closers, and as part of our offer, we coach them when they're in their role. We give advice to the company, things like that. Obviously, we work with those businesses anyway, so we can help them in a number of ways. But we get a lot of people who have been sales managers, and they have the worst fucking scripts, and they're forcing our closers to say this stuff. And closers are coming back to us. It's like, it's not working. And it's hard to negotiate. So it's like a very delicate process to tell this very egotistical shit salesperson that they're shit sales, and that the closers need to do what they need to do. Like for give you a very prime example, like one of the intros that one of my closers shared to me, at the end of it, they said, well, had to say, they had to say, by the way, when we get to the end of this call, you are going to have to give me a yes or no answer on if you want to go ahead. They were forced to say that.
Ooh.
Exactly.
I don't know how I would respond to that.
Exactly. So if this was 1986 and I'm doing a load of coke and wearing a suit and I'm in like Wall Street, maybe that shit would work.
It might work.
But you know, the way I teach sales, I call it new age sales. Like just to the epitome of getting away from these old school sales. Like so, you know, my first module in my course is called new age sales, because that's like the whole mythology of what I teach. So that's the epitome of what I'm trying to say. It's like there's so many people use very old school strategies that are so clearly old school strategies that people know that they're being sold to, and they just switch off like that. Like sales is very, very different today. Very, very different. And we have to do the opposite of what's expected of us. Okay. So like when someone handles objections as well, like I take the complete opposite approach of like, oh yeah, if you don't want to do it, that's absolutely fine. But then I have this line that draws them in. It's like, okay, well look, obviously, you know, if you go ahead right now, there's like $2,000 discount. But if you don't want to do that, it's absolutely fine. We'll just catch up and yeah, it'll just be another 2K. So when you're free to catch up, and they're like, okay. And they're leaning into the catching up, and I was like, okay, sorry. So when we do catch up, what questions are you going to have for me, just so I, be nice and prepared? It's like, oh, and then I get to the root of the objection. Yeah. Then I can go back in. But if I'm like, no, tell me now. Why don't you want to go ahead? I mean, we're on the call now. We might as well go through it so I can answer. You know, that's what they're going to expect. And their guard's going to be so fucking high that you're not going to get through it. Like emotion is at the key of any decision. But people say, oh yeah, decisions are made on emotion. That's, you've heard it a million times. But there's a difference between positive and negative emotion. The decision you want needs to be based off a positive emotion. The decision you don't want is based off a negative emotion. So when you're handling objections, there's a lot at stake. People will enter fight or flight. And what will happen 9 times out of 10 is that they'll want to flee. They'll want to get off that call as soon as possible. I need to think about it. Oh, I need to check with my partner. They'll throw these excuses at your face because they just want to get out of there, because you've entered into fight or flight. So they'll want to flee that as soon as possible. And then you get the odd one out of 10 who would just want to argue with you. They'll want to fight you. But that's because you put them in fight or flight, because they feel in danger and threat because you're trying to take something away from them and they're not sure about it.
You've got to get their guard down first.
Exactly.
The way that I've always done it, the way that I personally say, I think it's going to be completely different to the way that you guys do things, but I'm a very soft seller. The way that I sell to people is my sales cycle is probably about 3 months, which is very long.
Wow.
Very long. But then when you think about it, if I've got 20 people from January, then I have a 3-month cycle all the way through, and the same with February. So
do you know what my argument to that is? If I could shorten your sales cycle down to 2 weeks, how much more time would you have to speak to new prospects and get more people in your pipeline?
None. Do you know why?
Why?
Do you know why? It's because they will flow all the way through, but we automate it all. So we don't have to do loads. It's more It's more touching base. It's more saying, hi, we're still here. And the way that I've always done it is, it's a very soft sales approach, but it works. Because I think I have to play on my character more or less as well.
Slight amendment to that statement. It works ... for me.
Yeah.
I think that is the
Yeah.
most important thing. Like when people always ask me like, what sales like books do you recommend and things like that, and I say none. Do not go and read sales books, because everyone has a different style. And if you start trying to Frankenstein a style together based off 5 different people, it will go horribly wrong.
Agreed.
You need to understand your style. And there's obviously a lot of different ways of selling, but if you want like the most simplistic view, I always think there's a scale of rapport to authority. Like that is how you build trust, either building rapport or building rapport authority, or sometimes both. And if you are in a position of relatively low authority, like you're a new salesman, like you've never really done anything yourself, you have to rely on the indirect authority of your offer. Sometimes you might be in a new business. Like what if you're an agent, like when I talk agency owners, what if you're an agency owner who's shit at sales, who doesn't have a business, who's never done it before? You can't take an authoritative approach. You haven't got any fucking leverage because you're shit. But that's okay. So focus on building rapport, being like softer with your sales. Because if you try and come up with a business owner on their level, but you're not on their level, you're going to get walked all over. If you appreciate that they're hiring you and you're working with them for their sake to achieve their goals, then you can build good rapport with them. You can show them that you know what you're doing. Like you can still build authority through your skill set, but it's up to you to learn the fucking skill set, to go out of your way to learn everything. Like when I was in Dubai as a new property broker, they took you through 3 weeks of training. I passed it in 2 days because I went home and writ on posters on my wall every single square footage of every single building in my area, every name of every building, every view, every apartment number. And I didn't leave until I knew it. And that's how I used to sell, just being very knowledgeable and very to the point. I didn't really build too much rapport. It takes more energy out of you to be more rapport building, again, because it's my style. And then as I've developed genuine authority through my career as an entrepreneur, I have a very authoritative style now. But that's like my way of selling. And then I've got a guy in my team called Aaron, and very, very hard working, but he's come from no sales experience, warehouse worker. And the reason he's on my team is because how hard working he is. Like I fucking love the guy. But when we were kind of going through the training, like closing, things like that, he was trying to do me. And I said, like, you're not going to be me. You need to adapt to your style. And again, there's like in the simpler way, it's like authority on one side, rapport on the other. So if you don't really have, like, spend more time building rapport. If you have a lot of authority and like that's more your style, then do a bit like that. But if you try and do something that isn't you and do it someone else, then if you're disingenuous, that's the worst sales style you can be. And like we were saying about like the what when you're strapped in there. Yeah. That's why it doesn't work, because it's not you. Like I said, I'd rather people go like, oh, sorry, I fucked up. Like, oh, so where were we again? Yeah. Like have a bit of personality about you and make someone feel like they're speaking to a human, because that'll account for any lack of skill, any lack of knowledge, anything like that. Don't get me wrong, it won't be as good as you would be if you were 5 years deep and you knew everything about your offer, but it's about using what you have and like finding the quickest ways to develop. So if you're a new closer, it's like offer knowledge. Understand, yes, like all of the USPs, the features, things like that, but more importantly, understand how they help your prospect, what problems they solve specifically. Like that's offer knowledge. Product knowledge is USPs. Offer knowledge is UPS, unique problem solvers. That's what I teach. So don't sell the 6-pack. Don't sell the sit-ups, sell the 6-pack. You know, like figure out the results, figure out the solutions, figure out the problems, not the means. So that isn't too difficult to understand. You can go out of your way to learn that if you're new at sales, but you just need to actually fucking do it. You need to put the work in and learn it. Like that's what people miss. And then it's the rapport building side, make up for the lack of authority that you have by building more rapport with someone. And again, if you're a bit introverted, you're a bit autistic, like no matter what, then, spend more time learning the skills of it. Be of more of a service to that person. Like just listen to their problems, not their personality. And then it's having a framework to stick to, like not a script where it's like, I've got to do this. It's have this structure to follow that gives you structure but allows you to go off in tangents, because it's the tangents where the magic happens.
Agreed. I think the way that I've always sold to people is they don't know they're being sold to.
Yeah.
Every single time, like the first thing I'll do is, would you like to go grab a coffee? Shall we go? Because a lot of my stuff's in person up in London, down in Sussex. Yeah, I guess it'd be a bit different for your side of things, but let's go grab a coffee and then I might go for lunch with them. They won't know they're being sold to at all. And our life cycle with a client is minimum a year,
That's good.
but it won't be contracted a year. It's because they want to stay with us for a year. So it's not even, I'm not a magic salesman. I don't have the magic clue. You definitely have more magic than I do in that department, but it's the product, and people feel like they get looked after. And then people talk to people who talk to people, like we were speaking before about how important customer referrals and recommendations are. Because that alone could absolutely skyrocket a business. You wouldn't even have to do any marketing at that point. If your customers speak so highly of you, 24/7 to everybody they meet, they love you so much. They speak to their mum. They speak to their business partner. They then speak to their mum, their friends. It's a cycle that, I mean, what, there's 8-9 billion people on this planet now? You think there's not enough people to recommend to?
You show me an ad that builds more trust than a referral, and I'll give you £1 million.
Yeah. You couldn't.
Couldn't.
You couldn't.
Yeah.
You simply couldn't.
Yeah. It's to the point that you'll still see, like, I find it really frustrating and annoying. I find most things people do. But when people ask, like, does anyone know, like, a builder in the area, like on Facebook? I always just think, well, fucking Google it. But, you know, it is that point. They want a referral. It's because of how much mistrust there is for things like that. So again, yeah, if you act like a salesman, if you act like a business just trying to pull some people in, they know that, you know, the money is the most important thing to them. If you act like a person who's trying to help someone, if you make them feel like the most important thing is to help them rather than the money that you get, yeah, that's when the dynamic completely changes. And that's where I've actually developed a really unique way of selling, because when I was selling for the program, I got to the point where, you know, we got loads of people in, but then I started to coach for the program, and I had to spend 30 days with these people, help them to set the business up, and then start reaching out to business owners to sign them up for social media marketing. And I would sell someone, I'd be a bit like that. Obviously I want to make a fucking sale and get commission. And then I'd have to coach them and be like, oh no, this fucker ain't going to do it. Like, so then it became, you know, when you're in a desperate state and, you know, you're growing and things like that, you will. But then when I started to earn good money for a while, and like, I really honestly didn't give a fuck if I like lost a few sales, because for me, the more important thing was my time. Like, I don't want to sit here on a one-on-one session with someone I know is not going to do well. So I'm not going to sell him into the program. So my sales style changed completely from trying to fit my product around that person to trying to fit that person into my product. Like, I had a very discounting way of selling. I sold as a coach, not a closer. So I sold as if, like, I was basically trying to, I call it the scientific method. Like, in science, if you have a hypothesis, you try and disprove it, you don't try and prove it. So when I'm on a sales call with someone, I'm trying to disprove they're the right fit for me. And when I did that, I sold more. The people that I got through done better because they had very realistic expectations of what they actually had to do. They appreciated the honesty. I had great rapport with them when I actually got them on, because they knew it was like a very start to finish, very real experience. There was no like, oh, he's told me this, I've gotten this a bit different. Like, everything was very transparent. And it was win-win-win-win situation. And then that kind of like blew my mind. Like, oh, okay, this is how you fucking sell. Like, I don't sell to people. They sell themselves to me. And if they don't want to play my game, then fine, see you later. I don't give a fuck. Like, zero desperation way of selling.
It's the best way to do it, though, because
always
you keep people happy.
Yeah.
That's the main thing. And then they keep paying you, which is ultimately your end goal.
Yeah.
You get your goal if you put the customers first. You put them first all the time. It's only a matter of time.
Yeah, when you realise that money is not the most important thing.
Yeah.
Like I said, like, what do you expect it to fucking bring you? Like, a few extra quid, like a few extra £100, even a few extra grand is not going to change your fucking life. Dealing with an arsehole is going to change your life, trust me. So I think the difficulty thing is, though, it's like, it's very easy for me to say that. It's like, I have zero desperation, I don't give a fuck. So I've cultivated that attitude after years. Like, years. I think the people that struggle with that is it's the people who are genuinely, you know, desperate for a sale. It's like new agency owners, great example, new closers. Like, there's that fear that when you're about to close someone, that, you know, it's like taking payment. It's like they can feel, because I've felt that fear. I know what that fear is like. And I think that's a very hard attitude to fake. A very hard attitude to fake. So it is something that is the most effective way at selling. It will turn you into a top performer, but you can't just arrive as a top performer. It's something that needs to be developed through years of experience.
Earned. It's
Earned.
It's not given.
No.
It's something that you can't wake up one day and think, right, I'm going to go sell this product. Because one, you don't know the product. Well, that's the starting place. You don't even know what you're selling. Number two, you don't know if the person actually wants it. You don't know who you're trying to sell to. That's got to be learned as well. But also after that point, you've got to piece both together and make it flow and not sound robotic. Because, I mean, the amount of sales calls that even I get from people, I've got sales calls from agency owners trying to sell me social media marketing. I do that.
I get it as well, like in the DMs.
What?
Like,
I don't get it.
Yeah.
Why are you trying to sell me something that I already do? But it's, and every time you answer the phone, it's, oh, hey, Ryan, I don't know if you've got a spare 5 minutes to chat.
I'm hanging up.
No, I haven't got 5 minutes.
Yeah.
No, I haven't. I'm busy. There's stuff to do. Otherwise, if I spend 5 minutes with you, and I spend 5 minutes with somebody else the next day, and then the next day, and then suddenly I've wasted hours in the month talking to people when I'm never going to buy from them anyway.
Yeah. The other thing that aggravates me is people who offer it for free and then get upset because I don't want it. It's nothing is free to a business owner. Like, I run a good business. Paying you would not be a fucking problem. Taking on your work as a new entity, like a new copywriter, a new email, a new this, is a risk for me. I don't give a fuck if you do it for free, because paying for stuff is not the problem. Getting good stuff is the problem. So when you're outreaching people and you're like, well, oh yeah, I'll just offer it for free, and then you don't get responses, you don't know why. That's why. It's because the people you're doing it to don't need free, they need good. Free isn't the fucking issue. Quality is. So I don't like offering things for free.
So I was thinking about the scene from Wolf of Wall Street, you know, where sell me this pen comes into play. So I'm going to play it back to you.
Okay.
Sell me this pen in particular.
So why are you looking for a new pen?
Who says I'm looking for a new pen?
Well, why to sell you a pen you don't want?
Very true. Well, you've asked me.
There we go.
Wow. That was quick.
Simple as that.
That was quick.
Simple as that. Again, I'm not here to sell you things that you don't want. I'm here to disprove that you want this. And if you give me that evidence, I'm going to waste my fucking time. That is the most important thing. Why are you here in front of me? It's not about me trying to sell to you, because that makes it about me. It's about the prospect. It's about helping them out. Because if I can't help them out, why would I, how am I physically going to get money from them? Like, the thing I say about sales is, like, everything in sales is just an exercise of preempting objections. Like, and every time I go through a sales call with someone, that's all I'm thinking about. So what objections is this fucker going to give me? And a good one, a good example is on a sales call with a entrepreneurial program, teaching someone how to be a closer or teaching someone how to build an agency, whatever it is. If someone is in a really good position in their life, they are a lot less likely to buy from me. Even if they have, like, when they have a lot of money, people get very excited. And this is where people go wrong, is they're like, oh, this person's got money, I can definitely sell to them. What this person doesn't have, which is more important than the person with no money, I'll let you guess.
It's time.
Pain.
Pain.
And what I say to people, again, I'm here to disqualify these people, and I say this to every single person who's in a good position, right at the end of kind of going through their current position, going through their goals, I go through a stage called qualification right before we go into the pitch. So essentially what I do in this phase is just go through all my preempting. And one thing I say to everyone in a good position is like, right, love that you're doing this, love you doing this. Look, I actually think you could do well because based on this, and all genuine stuff, not just, I fucking hate doing role plays with people, and I'm a really awkward role play. I play a really awkward customer. And then we get to the end of like the discovery before we get on the pitch, and they're like, yeah, well, I think you're going to be really good. And I all in my head and think, why? Why do you think that? Because I've been giving you a really hard time and basically telling you I'd be shit. Why are you telling me this? I know you're just saying it because it's on a script. So what I say to people in this position is, right, well, mate, look, let's say it's closing. It's like, right, well, look, you say you're going to be good at the sales. Like, maybe we just need a little bit more, knowledge on how to sell these sorts of programs. But I'll be honest with you, there's one thing that really worries me. Have you ever heard of golden handcuffs?
No.
So you're in a position of golden handcuffs. You are in a very good job, which gives you a lot of comfort. And going through a program like this, trying to improve yourself, you have to go through a lot of pain. And what happens when you go through a lot of pain, when you're in a comfortable position, you reach this point where it's like, why am I doing this? Because I can just stay in my comfortable position. Now, when you're in a really shit position and you go through pain, but you're doing it to like get to a better position, then it doesn't matter because you're in pain no matter what. So I'm not actually too sure that this program's for you, if I'm going to be honest, because you're in too good a position. Like, I just don't believe you're going to be wanting to spend all of your time, free time, like working on something and then probably having to go through a period where you earn a lot less money. That's another thing I say, like, especially with the agency owners. Like I say, you know, you can probably get about 5 clients. You run an agency, like, agree or disagree with me here. I reckon you could probably get to about 5 clients managing a 40-hour week alongside an agency. Past that, you're going to really struggle.
I don't only think you will struggle, but I think you will lose the clients.
100%.
Because you won't deliver.
3 to 5 then, yeah?
I would say, well, the maximum, I'm going to give it a slightly different analogy. We found a maximum 1 member of staff can manage, clients-wise. Full-time member of staff is about 15 tops.
Yeah, I usually say 10 to 12.
You
but
can't
depends on the
go
client,
any
right?
more than that.
You
cannot go any more than that because, 1, you annoy people because you don't get back to them in time, you don't deliver a good service, you're over-promising and under-delivering. That's something I always bang on about, is you want to be under-promising and over-delivering on everything.
I always say exact and exact.
Really?
Yeah.
I have this graph.
Because if I under-promise, I might not be creating enough value to get the sale.
I have this graph. So you've got 0 in the middle. You've got +1 above it. You've got -1 above it. This is somebody's expectations. If it's on 0, so that's the starting point, but the way you're doing it, you remain at 0 the whole way through. They're neither happy or dissatisfied because they're getting what they expect. But if their expectation is 0 and you're delivering +1, they're over the moon with it. They're exceptionally happy with it. Whereas if the risky area is going -1.
Yeah.
That's what you don't want to be, is that side of things. What do you think about that?
Well, like I say, I think that, that's something that a lot of people say, but it's like an instinctive reaction. It's like, why the fuck would I under-deliver on my sales pitch? If I've got tools at my disposal, I'm going to fucking use them. And I think that you're going to lose out on some sales because you will say that, but then some other fucker will say something else. And we obviously spoke about this earlier about most of these industries are just full of idiots who don't know what they're doing, but they just have good offers and inflate their sales pitches with these over-promised garbage. Yeah. And I think that's what stings people. And that's why so many people are so apprehensive about like agency or like offers or things like that. Which obviously ruins it for us all. But because those people exist, you're going to lose out on sales to those people. But as long as you have confidence, like I never lie on a sales pitch. I always have confidence that we're going to be able to deliver, like the conviction that I have, which is why I get so much like buying signs from someone and so much like buy-in from them and excitement, because I have full conviction.
You have energy as well.
But that's what really helped when I was closing and then coaching, because I knew it would be me they deal with. So I know that I'd be the one to do it. And that's what I'd say to him. It's like, mate, if I'm lying to you, you're going to turn up with me in a month's time and we're going to have a very awkward month together. Do you think I want to have an awkward month with you? Or do you think I want to actually see you do well? I'm not going to waste my time with you, am I? Like, we're going to do this and it's going to be me who's actually going to be doing it with you. Which is why the people who close from my program are also the people that coach them, because they build such a good relationship. And it's good for them. Like, they get so much fulfillment from that. They see someone through from a message to jumping on a call, speaking about is closing for you, to jumping on a call, is the Close Pro Academy for you, to seeing them train them, pass training, get them into an offer, quit their job. They get to see that full cycle and help people through, which is why they're more motivated to do a better job. Like, it makes them, have purpose with what they do. And it makes like a great experience for the people that are coming through as well. And that's really what I wanted to create, like a great experience.
I think it's all about the experience. When you're buying something, you don't buy the steak, you buy the sizzle. That's always the way that I see it. It's a very cringy saying with it, but it's true. If you buy sort of like the journey as such, if you buy into that and not just outcome, because you've got to go through the journey first.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you will quit during the journey and you will never get to the outcome of it. I think there's so many different ways of selling.
There are.
So many different ways. You could probably name, if you sat down on paper, you could probably name about 100 different ways people can sell. But it's all about personality. It's the way that you are. And there's something I did. There's a few weeks back, we do them every single quarter. Every member of staff. We do something called a DISC profile. Have you ever heard of DISC profile?
Nah.
You should try one. They're really cool. Really
Okay.
cool. So it gets you to answer a series of 20 questions. This is all custom done.
Is this personality stuff?
Yeah.
I think I've done one recently actually, and it was more like hearts, spades, clubs. I think it might be similar.
So ours is more like, right, how would you deal with this situation in public?
Mm.
And it gives you 3 profiles. How you see yourself, how everybody
I like
sees
that.
you,
Yeah.
and how you actually are. And you'll see this graph flowing up and down. And there'll be stuff like attention to detail. You get a score out of 10. But then not only that, you get a full analysis of how you should sell to somebody. But not only that, but say, well, you're a business owner like I am. If you do this for your team, you then get to see how is best to encourage them,
Yeah.
how to nurture them, how to grow them, because people are so different. Like we took an apprentice recently, and she's brilliant, absolutely fantastic, but she's completely different to me. She wouldn't sit down here
Yeah.
and talk on camera.
Yeah.
No chance, let alone stand up in front of 40, 50 people and speak.
Yeah.
But her attention to detail is immaculate. Literally immaculate. Whereas
You're
I'm
more
better at
like
speaking.
creative rather than analytic.
Yeah.
Like, well, I've just got
Yeah.
someone who does my social media, as in like posts for me, keeps up to date with it, because I just need the organisation. Because I'm all over the place.
Yeah.
Like it allows you to create these like amazing ideas and do these things, but the practicality and the execution of it is usually something that lets you down.
That's the hardest bit, really. It's I think everybody almost needs this crucial member of staff that I'm still yet to get, but I've been told it's absolutely brilliant, is a PA. Because it's somebody that can be with you and you say, oh, do you think we should try this? They'll write it down, pass it to the team. The team will execute it. She'll bring it back to you, say, oh, this has worked. Oh, this hasn't worked. And then you just get the outcome of it.
Yeah.
I think it's such a crucial role.
Yeah.
So many people, especially the higher up you get and the busier you get, you need somebody like that who's just next to you basically all the time to hear your crazy ideas and put them into play. Because otherwise, if you're like me, I have about 100 ideas a day.
Yeah.
And only about 50 of them actually get worked on at some point, because you can't work on 100 things in a day.
So what we've done to kind of help with that is that we've got obviously WhatsApp group and things like that. I'll put it insert that as well. But then I have built like a management system on Notion to manage the offer. So when we work with B2B clients, that's our template that we can give them. And it's like you can manage a full business on it. It's like team is built on there, sales and marketing funnels, everything like that is built on there. All the operations, SOPs, everything like that is built in there. All of the client management, because obviously most offers are like helping students or members or things like that. So tracking all the members, like everything is built on there. And I've got this to-do list on there that go through, and every time like there is an idea, every time someone's got on there, it then goes on that. So every time we have a weekly meeting, that's the first thing we like want to look at.
Brilliant.
So yeah, we built that. So now every time we're going to jump on a meeting, like the first thing we're going to do, right, we're going to look at that. But the more important thing is how the to-do list is structured. It's not just, have you done this? No. It's like, who is responsible for it? Person or people? What's the urgency? And what's the intensity? So basically in hours, how long do you predict this thing is going to take you? And also, how important is it? So that is filtered by the most important and the least amount of time to do. So we're getting the most important tasks done that take the least amount of time at all times, and it just filters down like that. So these sporadic, crazy ideas that like people like me and you get, if they're on somewhere, and then at least if they are, even if they're like next month, at least they're consciously still there.
They're there.
Because there's nothing worse than having that great idea and be like, fuck, what was that idea again?
Yeah.
Nothing worse than it.
Yeah.
But if it's, if you're constantly there, and yeah, like running a business is stressful. There's always going to be emergencies that happen. Like, oh, we need to do that, which is why like you can't have a utopian view of how to run a business. Like I was speaking to my my close friend who runs an offer, and he told me about this new offer he wants to do where like he helps barbers grow, and like he's incredible at it. And he wants to do an offer where it's like they don't pay him anything up front. And it's like he'll run their ads, because he knows he can guarantee people get like bookings, things like that. and he'll take like a certain amount of money from up to a certain level, and that's how he gets money. And I was like, right, as good as that seems, it's too utopian. Because what really happens is that people are mainly assholes. People will try and tell you that they're not getting clients through. People will get your system and then say it's not for me, and then just use it. Like, that's the reality. You obviously have dystopian, like pessimistic views where, you know, it's like, come on, it can't be that bad. But then I'm always been centered on reality. I've always been like a dream chaser, but I'm also very centered in reality. So I like to have these ideas and definitely test them out. But I'm very open to the fact that the realm of reality is very, very different from like this utopian, or if this works, it's like, imagine if that happens. So it's kind of like that. You can't run a business thinking like, I'm going to get these great ideas, I'm going to put them on this to-do list, we're all going to sit down every week and they're going to be done straight away, because it just ain't going to happen.
Yeah.
But as long as they're there, as long as they're getting work towards, it's better than having these ideas and them going out. That's my reality where I can sit.
Yeah, makes complete sense. I think I'm gonna give this last one, which might be a bit of a longer explanation. Is if you could give 5 tips, if somebody wanted to go on a journey that you've gone on, what would you give them to not make any mistakes, even though they're very crucial?
Yeah.
What tips would you give them? What are the main 5 valuable things?
I mean, if you were going to like do a start to finish journey, I would really say that there needs to be a step by step that goes in place. The first thing you need to do is you need to focus on your body. Like, you need to have the self-respect of looking after your body, because people will treat you with more respect. You will have more energy. You will learn discipline. You will learn the value of hard work. You will learn a lot of skills, even doing that, even from mindset, more than body. And that's your longevity as a person. And the best thing about doing it is you have 100% control of it. Because if you exercise, you eat right, you do everything right, it's near 100% chance it will work. The only reason it doesn't work is because people don't do it. But when you start getting into the realms of business, there's so many factors. Like, you remember we were saying health, wealth, relationships? Yeah. Hardest thing is relationships, because you can't control people. Business, there's a lot of measure of control that you have.
Element.
Yeah.
Definitely an element.
So I think you should go through your body first. Then you should sort your mind, which will be a lot easier when you've sorted out your body anyway. Then you find something to get you out of your day job and work for yourself. The skills and stuff you'll build there. Then you will find the business that is actually yours. Like, the agency got me out, yes, but this is my life now. Like, this is my direction in life. And to say that I found that is indescribable. And then you can focus on the relationships, because the person you become at the end of that is very different from the person who you were. The people that you attract are very, very different as well. So those are the 5 steps you need to go through.
Perfect. I'm going to wrap things
on
up.
that bombshell.
Pleasure having you on board.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you for coming down.
Appreciate it.
Where can people find you?
Instagram at Mr. Connor Williams, and everything is through there.
Wicked. Absolute pleasure. Thank you for coming on.
Cheers, man.